Obviously, of late, there's been a lot of controversy around Disney. Disney hasn't been able to please its audiences in the way that it has before. Hey everyone, Bruce from What's Popping in. I just got back from a media screening of Inside Out 2. Review embargo lifted. Let's chat about this film. Now, obviously, I don't want to give too much away. Don't want to give any spoilers. But man, Disney knocked it out the park with this one. I am thoroughly impressed, and I'm not going to lie, somewhat surprised. Obviously, of late, there's been a lot of controversy around Disney. Disney hasn't been able to please its audiences in the way that it has before. And there has been a call out for a long time for something original, something new, something fresh, something that went back to Disney's roots. I've got to say, I loved the first Inside Out movie, and the fact that this came out 9 years later was very concerning to me. But you can see that those 9 years were really, really well utilized by the team. This film was incredibly intentional. It had a very clear message, and it knew exactly what it wanted to say from the onset. Now, we join Riley on her journey. She's now 13, so we haven't skipped too far ahead from where the previous film was. And whereas in the first film we had this idea of core memories building personality islands, now we're looking more at how people develop in terms of their belief systems and their value systems, and how the memories are sort of going into forming that part of Riley's life. And she's now transitioning, as we saw from the end of the first movie where that puberty button was installed. Puberty takes a bulldozer, or a wrecking ball, I should rather say, to Riley's life, bringing all these new emotions in. We have anxiety, we have ennui, I loved ennui, boredom, we have envy, and we had embarrassment joining. And these guys kind of decide to take the wheel and suppress the other emotions. And the old emotions are running and scrambling to figure out what's going on. The new emotions are trying to take control of the control panel and see what's going on, where everybody thinks they know what they're doing, and at the end of the day, Joy's trying to take control, which she always does. So really, really fun scenes to see. And throughout the film, there is this kind of feeling of instability that's constantly brought up, because it is in everyone's life a very tumultuous time. So there's things like construction sites in the background, there's ever-changing things going on in imagination land, there's all these different movements, characters moving from one place to another. We see lands changing sizes in terms of the personality islands that we saw form in the first film. So there is a lot going on. I mean, the fact that the control center throughout the film, you can see in the trailers, is kind of this construction site, is very emblematic of what's going on in Riley's head. And that symbolism is so well carried throughout the movie. There are so many really, really cool psyche references that are made, with references made to the stream of consciousness, similar to how we saw the train of thought in the first film, with people bringing references to things like sarcasms forming. You'll get it when you see the movie. It's really, really funny. I was in a theater with a whole lot of movie critics who I've seen walk out of movies less than 2 weeks ago that I thought were pretty decent, and they were laughing their heads off. They absolutely loved this film, which was really refreshing for me to see, because I feel like at the moment people are going into Disney movies, particularly the animations, with this kind of bias. I mean, here I'm talking about bias, wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt after going to a press screening to a thing where I was invited by Disney, but that's besides the point. The movie is really, really well made. It's a very similar story to what we've seen in the past, but brought forward in a very refreshing way, because you are seeing things not just through Riley's eyes and not just through her parents' eyes, but through her emotions' eyes, which is, again, the theme of the first film, but so well translated into a brand new environment. Whereas in the first film, we had Riley sort of learning to deal with emotions. She's still a child. Now she's going into puberty. She's growing up. She's having to see her emotions evolve and deal with each other in different ways. The character of Joy has definitely matured. She learned in the first film that she can't have everything her way. Everything can't be happy all the time, and she needs to find a way to deal with other emotions and bring them on board to better Riley's life. And that idea is further hammered home here. Joy thinks she has everything figured out, but we see very early on in the film that she's still making mistakes. And there's a level of dramatic irony in this, because anybody who's watched this film and having gone through those emotional and difficult stages of our lives will see the pitfalls of what she's doing. We saw in the first film Joy kind of wanting to get rid of anything that's sad or anything that's negative, and there's a similar vein that's carried on here, where she's making similar mistakes and relying on the other emotions to try and help her correct them and operate for the benefit of Riley. But joy is not good for you all the time. Anxiety is not just there to make you miserable. It can be useful, and all of these things play a role in our lives. This is something that people who watched early Pixar films are going to take their kids to go and see. They're going to be able to have a great conversation afterwards about what their child might be going through, what their child can expect going through this difficult period in their life, and the child will be able to relate to it. You're going to be able to see parents and kids having frank conversations about emotional states, about growth, about what growth means, and how being uncomfortable is sometimes the best way to go ahead and grow. It plays off so well. There's these incredible psyche references. There's these fun hidden jokes that if you go back and watch the movie again, you're going to pick up on. If you watch this movie as a kid, you're going to come out there after being on this journey with Riley and her emotions and her journey from beginning to end, all the bumps, all the trials, all the tribulations, all the growth, you're going to take a lot of learnings out of that. If you watch this as an adult, you are going to view a lot of the things Riley went through very differently. And you're going to see that you're still going through a lot of those things that kids are going through and that kids in puberty are going through. We all deal with anxiety and stress and worry and embarrassment and all these nasty emotions that are sort of contrasting against our quest for joy. And again, we can't be happy all the time. It's not healthy. So there is so much to discuss when you come out of this film, and the content and the structure is put forward so intentionally that it really doesn't undermine the story in any way. There's no low-hanging fruit that Disney pick on to kind of virtue signal or woke wash the project. It really feels that they are intentionally bringing across a strong family-friendly message that is going to apply to families of all ages, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids. We've all been through these things, or we are currently going through these things. And that is something that is just really, really beautiful and feels so true to the core of what Disney has been for so many years. I personally enjoyed this just as much as the first film, if not a little bit more. You see in this movie emotions kind of breaking character, but a bit of bleeding over between the emotions, which you can take one way or the other, but I think it worked quite well because those moments really do hit you. We see joy becoming sad. We see anger taking enjoyment in things. We see sadness finding a way to find purpose. And those are things that are really, really important for showcasing to people that it's okay to feel all these different things and feeling them at different times of your life and in different scenarios, and mixing those emotions together is incredibly healthy and in fact constructive. So there's a great message to this film, and I think that is what people are going to be taking home from it, aside from the fact that it's a really funny movie. There is a lot of real fun going on in this movie. There's a great interplay between the different emotions, and we see this kind of recess of Riley's mind where she has a dark secret, and that takes on a certain form of animation. She has this crush on a video game character that she had from a while ago, and he's kind of pixelated and sort of jars against the wall, and is very, very true to that kind of animation that you would expect from the sort of 8-bit video games where the characters are kind of clunky and moving around in odd ways. And then some 2D animation in the film that sort of blends seamlessly with this Pixar 3D generated animation that Pixar has become, so well known for. If you see a Pixar movie, you know exactly what it looks like, and you'll spot it out a mile away. So when they combine those different forms of animation, it's done in a beautiful way that's not jarring at all, and really sort of gives the audience something to play with, something to laugh at, and helps to actually advance the plot. There's not a lot of fat in this movie. They've trimmed a lot of fat. Each scene either plays for a laugh, pushes the plot forward, or hits you emotionally. So I think this is going to be a film. If you are sleeping on it, definitely go out there, check out Inside Out 2. If you enjoyed the first one, you're going to love the second one. And I think there are, in fact, some Easter eggs hidden there for a possible Inside Out 3. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys. Are you going to go check out Inside Out 2? Did you enjoy the first one? And what do you think about the way Disney is moving? We have Moana 2, we have The Lion King coming out later this year, we have the new Deadpool movie, of course, coming out that everybody is losing their minds over, as we should well be. What is your Disney movie this year that you are most looking forward to seeing, aside from Inside Out 2?